So يسعد مساكم جميعا ويعطيكم ألف عافية. بشكر جميع الحضور والمحاضرين اللي كانوا معنا خلال اللقاء.
Who attended today's forum. It was an excellent forum. We had 4 variable sessions. All of the objectives and activities set will be summarized now in this session, a closing and summarizing session. Let's start with Mr. Ashraf Al-Aslam, your workshop's name and the recommendations. The title was Digitization and towards a more sustainable model. We had 3 main pillars. The first is the digitalization, the digital market. The attendees agreed that there is a need to make the digitalization and pillar to start with, but we had some obstacles like the infrastructure in Palestine. So we have to look into with consideration this one with the Ministry of Information Technology and Communication, which they said that they will take it into consideration in the coming period, because with that we can move to 3G or 4G. We also talked a lot about the accomplishments. Rania from the Ministry of Communication talked about the efforts put forward regarding this. So it will enable us to update the infrastructure. There is a special case in Gaza because of the current circumstances, like the shortage of electricity and the siege they're under. So all of that hinders the efforts towards digitalization. The third is about how to have more inclusive and efficient institutions, which is in itself a challenge in this sector. We have to work on finding a way to use opportunities. For example, there are available opportunities abroad for companies and academic institutions, so we can follow innovation and innovative approaches. So we try to summarize all of this in the framework of the open innovation. It highlighted what Natalia said. It has to be the starting point for us. It's to raise the capacity of communication among us as individuals before even talking about tools, which we all agree to. We have to have better communication, through which we will have a better integration. And without that, we won't reach the desired integration between different sectors, especially the private and the public ones in Palestine and even internationally. So it's very true. We took that into consideration and highlighted it by the participants. Also, so that was the second, this is the third one, talking about the tools of the activities that we will do to utilize the tools. And in fact, there was an agreement on the importance of raising and enhancing the capacities of people like AI. We're talking about energy technology in general. So all of these are the basics of tools. So we're out of the traditional framework. We're talking about new tools and new programs which require us to build the capacities of the young people. So to turn into a hub in Palestine and do the capacity building and communicate with the surrounding environments. And so now we have over 25,000 programmers in Palestine. So this was among the things that we agreed on. And the participants also highlighted the importance of AI, and including Mrs. Rania and Mohammed Yajawi. This is in brief according to the sectors and our basic attempts to cover this pillar. Thank you very much to you and to all people in Gaza. Now we're going to the engineer Hassan Omar. Please, what's the name of your workshop and what's your outcomes? Abu Hamid. Mr. Hassan, thank you. First, I apologize. I couldn't gather the conclusion because I was at the hospital. Our session today was titled Inclusive Digital Inclusion in Palestine, and it had 6 points, main points. The first, regarding the governance and having a national policy, having a policy that is affordable and applicable to all partners and parts in Palestine, that everyone has to adopt as a methodology in Palestine by all parts. The second recommendation was to make a national team together, all of these together, to create programs that are result-oriented based on applicable good practices and given the capacities in the context in Palestine. The third was related to the devices. There has to be a fund, Palestinian one, to provide devices and make them available to those with limited incomes, and making it easier to pay for these devices. And the fourth one is that we couldn't make digital literacy without educating the people. So we need to have programs and systems that would enable us to enable people, all of them, educate them about the digital literacy through educating the new generations and women and children to use the internet. Now it's the responsibility of the government to provide a better infrastructure, and also we have to provide educational sessions to people about the negatives and positives of the internet. The fifth point is the necessity of involving women and children in these activities, and of course taking the full advantage of the technologies and tools and devices. So it's not only about the literacy, but also equipping them with the skills they need so they do not waste their time on the internet. And of course, using it to develop the economy in turning Palestine into a hub, where also it provides better job opportunities. And the last one talks about the training, the vocational training. There is people, are interested in it, but there must be more efforts should be put into this. We talked about universities and the situation in Gaza. And how we can link the systems together to have a better digitalization. We also focused on the innovation at younger generations. We'll send you 4 presentations that are well written in English. And we had the actors, the Ministry of Communication. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good time. Thank you for your efforts today. Now we have the gender session and the digital literacy will be covered in the news article about the forum today. Thank you for your participation. And now we're reaching the end of today. This forum falls under the project of sustainable and inclusive growth. Through this project, we launched the support of 4 entrepreneurial sponsors. The first is to Project Mover, and the second is Ticket Fresh, and the third is to ذكاء خارق and creativity. We will come back in details about these sponsors. 2 projects have been selected, and more projects will be covered in future sessions and workshops. You can follow on the Facebook page Digipal, which is on Facebook. I will leave you with the ذكاء العقلي project from Gaza. She is one of the winners at our sponsorship. Could you please unmute yourself?
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
أنا غدير ومشروعنا
My name is Ghadir. Our project is about the super memory and about making you have a better memory. This comes among the sustainable growth programs with man. The idea of our project is to develop tools that help with memorizing the Holy Quran using the super memory and the mind maps to solve 3 main problems: forgetting and the slow memorization and the boredom of memorization. Categories that can benefit from our project are the kids and the elders and even people living abroad of not speaking Arabic. We developed practical maps to memorize the surahs of Quran. We created these images on the computer. We prepared, planned mind maps that are also printed online and with hard copies. We have them in both Arabic and English, and we publish them online internationally, so anyone can reach them. And then we created videos and created a YouTube channel to memorize the Holy Quran using the mind map. The current stage, we developed an application and a website to gather all of our services on the application and web. Our project went through our advertisements on YouTube and the website and application. Among 10,000 users, they will win $5 to $15,000 annually. There is an annual or monthly subscriptions. We will sell books and give courses to memorize the Holy Quran. The financial indicators, there is a return to investment. For the first year, it will be 46, and the second year 4.97, and it will return its capital in a few years' time. The difficulties were the siege on Gaza, which made it difficult to reach the equipment we need, and the problem of the e-finances. Secondly, there is a need to have experts to develop the games on the application, and the high cost of programming the application and the maps. Acted helped us sponsor our project and with their consultation, which is the biggest evidence of our existence and presence today. We hope to come closer to our goals in the future. We expect you to help us continue with our work and completing the project that we started. Now we have an application we created a special academy to memorize the Holy Quran. And today we participated in this forum because we received a lot of questions that are indicators of the success of our programs. For example, there is an old woman from Jordan who had difficulty memorizing the Holy Quran, but following our methodologies, she was able to memorize some of surahs. And one of the children in Italy who doesn't read Arabic now is able to memorize an entire surah in one day, which was impossible to do before. And there is a Muslim person from Uzbekistan who bought the online or the electronic version of the book. And because he bought the book, and after a lot of research to memorize the Holy Quran, he found out that this is the best way. This is the end of my presentation. I hope you support us with our project, inshallah, and developing it. Thank you. Thank you, Ghadir, and the working team that works with you from Gaza. Ghadir, after you received the sponsorship, how did it change? Now we have 3 people working on this project, and we have a work team that is specialized in drawing maps and videos. We have a large group of people working on this. What's the number of those people working with you? Now we have 10 or 8. Okay. So 7 people were added to your group after the sponsorship of acted. Just to remind you, this is done in cooperation of AFD and acted. Thank you so much. Another entrepreneur project to help support the sustainable development in Palestine. It was a strange idea at first, and it was quite controversial whether it will succeed or not, and the methodology of implementing it. Will it be a support of a startup or not? This idea is supported and implemented in Europe, but this is for the first time happening in Palestine. I'm leaving you with Mover. Muhammad. Thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about our idea of the project, which will enhance the education experience in Palestine, and we aim to move even internationally, not only in Palestine. As you said, our idea stems from the framework of creating a platform that is physical. We work on the micromobility spaces by the scooters, and hopefully in the coming days we will have the electric car and the light bicycles. This will allow us this will happen through the shared devices and the region that uses these devices. Our mission is to have a clean society with an available product to everyone. We want to enable the smart city. We aim to fight against the high costs of fuel, and all of the companies are going to hybrid. So in Palestine, you have to work on this aspect too. And of course, we deserve, and Palestine also deserves such opportunities, especially that we have the sense of innovation and creativity to bring out these energies and capacities of the youth. And of course, we are doing our best to enhance our lives in cooperation with everyone. We all have to work in cooperation and together to achieve that. Also, we're talking about new projects that are welcome to our state. Well, the idea started when I was a graduate student and at university. The colleges are very far away from each other, for example. In the middle of the city, it's very difficult to take a car to move from one college to another, and it's very costly too. So sometimes you will find the campus of the university with like very far away from each other colleges. So this was very important for me, and that's where the idea stemmed from. Why not enable the transportation between the colleges using the electric scooter, using also the mobile application, which will be uploaded to the mobile or downloaded, and you can use it to mitigate the traffic, and it will be the first of its kind in Palestine. It will also directly impact the environment. Our expected target customers are the university students and the general parks or public parks who would like to enjoy, riding a scooter. And the target market are reaching all Arab countries and even the municipalities locally, and we want to facilitate making available all of these devices to people. Also, the young people who use bicycles and people with specific work environments that need to work you need to use such devices, and mainly we are targeting the campuses of universities in Palestine, and this is the theme that is available of our work, and then we are going to slowly move to other universities in Palestine. But firstly, we're starting with Birzeit University to apply the project or implement it. Do we have competitors? Locally, it's the first of its kind in Palestine. We are the entrepreneur in this field, but internationally, of course, we have many competitors, and there are many corporates and companies that have this idea, with very high value companies. How do we make money? It's by downloading the application of the platform. The user can charge, and through scanning to right, according to the financial package of the company that is agreed upon, that will enable them to use the software. We contracted with the company, and now we're developing our own application. We're working in cooperation with the best company that works in the industry of scooters internationally, which is Segway. The application will have a registration ability, you will have a map, and you can unlock your scooter or bike using your mobile application. Our vision is to reach all of the universities and even reach Arab universities too, outside of Palestine. We wanted to become the first device used in the Arab world. Our teamwork involves Muhammad and others who are not here today. We're all working together to develop this idea and make it successful, inshallah, so we can enable Palestine to be successful. Yes, there are many challenges and obstacles like any other business. Maybe those devices will be available. Well, they probably can be stolen. So this is a challenge. Many devices like this get stolen. And another part, there is no specific lanes to scooters on the street, which is something we're working currently with municipalities on. As like some of you can see, cars park on the sideways, so there is no enough room for people to use these devices. And we're urging the municipalities to look with a more serious eye at the subject matter. Thank you. Thank you, Muhammad. We wish you the best of luck. And hopefully we will see you in international levels. market. Supporting sustainable and inclusive growth. What is this project, how it started, the objectives and the outcomes of the project? The sustainable inclusive growth in Palestine with ACTED and AFD. The main product of this project is Digipal, which is a platform that will be the first of its kind in the technical aspect in Palestine. We will take a quick tour in Digipal with our colleague. So could you please introduce yourself? Hello everyone, my name is Shok. I'm the coordinator of the project in Man. The beginning of the idea of this project was through the first phase of the project, which we call the primary phase, which is to introduce and define the stakeholders and true partners of the project. In the first phase of the project, we conducted a survey on the market to learn about the stakeholders in the Gaza Strip and West Bank and to know more about the true needs of the young people, training, material-wise, and others. Through this study, we came up with a group of recommendations. At first, we were able to identify the ecosystem. We have the government sector and the education sector and NGO sector, the incubators, and the banking sector, and through which we were able to define every body or entity and where it can be as steering committee, technical, implementing, or as a partner to the project, through which we were able to make the study and finish it. And then this study allowed us to know the obstacles facing the fresh graduates, either technical skills or even soft skills and technological skills. I want to mention here one of the results that turned out to us, which is over 55% of the fresh graduates have weakness of competences, and over 61% of the sample had weakness of attitudes and seriousness in the digital sector. Over 70% of the sample population had weaknesses of technical and soft skills, and other results that we found. The study also identified the main sectors that are involved in the digitalization. The main is the ICT, in multimedia, in engineering, architecture, and interior design, and accounting. These sectors that are well distinguished with the fresh graduates of the lack the competencies needed to enter the market. And now we have these recommendations on different levels. So the first is at the level of the government and the private sector and the sponsors and donors and those implementing the project. We also have an advisory board which consists of 4 ministries: the Ministry of Communication, Ministry of Education, Higher Education, Ministry of Labor, and from here, we started to the second line of defense, which is the line of universities. And we wanted to have 4 representatives from the West Bank and Gaza to implement the project. And of course, with the private sector and the incubators, Gateway, Picti, and Beta. And of course, the presence of the voice of the youth in the project. From here, we went to the technical members, which consisted of 3 teams. The first was interested in developing the platform, Dr. Thabit, Dr. Said, and Dr. Muhammad. And we have the team interested in entrepreneurship, and then the team interested in developing skills, Sami, and developing the financial sector. And then we created the structure of the project, and we created the brain and engine of the project, and we went to the implementation, starting from the local community. We started with the local communities. So we have thinking stage, cooperation stage, and then the stage of pre-design or phase to create a healthy platform that fulfills the needs of the Palestinian community. We conducted a benchmarking study which allowed us to see the available platforms in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip and others in the region. And what are the best practices followed through these platforms? A number of consultancy sessions were conducted with graduate students and with their families and all target categories and all partners in the project and stakeholders. And then we moved to the stage of procurement. During the pandemic, the importance of the digital sector raised, and we started the design of the platform. Which was the most challenging in the project. We had to define the technical specifications and the content development, the material needed to be put on the platform and the ways to select them.
وما ننسى هون الشق الآخر من المشروع نشاط
And of
الريادة.
course, we should not forget the other part of the project, which is the entrepreneurship. So we designed the methodology and action plan to the entrepreneurship. And now we have a number of methodologies and tools we use, like the gatherings online. During the pandemic, we have focus groups, discussions, and online surveys. We targeted a number of categories, like technical experts and stakeholders, and local authorities and ministries, trainers, and others. And from here, we moved to the digital center support, the centers that were targeted. In the project, we chose 8 centers, 5 of them were in Gaza and 3 in the West Bank. And then we went to the development phase, where we developed the platform and we created a demo version of the platform. We created it during the pandemic, and we underwent many trainings So it was at first a weak version, but then it proved its success. And then, in addition to a number of webinars at the time, there's also entrepreneurship. Can I talk about the entrepreneurship?
Thank you علي على المعلومات عن مشروع الإدماج الرقمي. طبعا نشاط الريادة كان من أهم برامج.
The entrepreneurship was very important in the project. As Ali said, we have a methodology and application. We had over 70 applications that after screening were we only selected 50, and of course with the partnership of committee members and experts, we only selected 50 teams and initiatives. In this phase of the project, we started with 50 teams. The project consisted of 2 months of virtual meetings, monitoring through the digital platform, which had 2 types, the technical and the business skills, the product development and marketing and ICT. And then 2 months after, the 50 teams were able to create the business model campus and to present their projects in front of the technical committee to be evaluated.
اوكي، في هاي المرحله كان في عندنا التصميم والتنفيذ للمشروع بنفس الوقت.
This stage was the design and implementation of the project, and of course with the stage of feedback and recommendations to reach the testing phase. It went through the alpha testing, beta testing, which were quite sensitive, and the platform was tested through a number of experts and students, and through conducting training programs and giving the recommendations to them. And in parallel, we're working on developing the training materials and the awareness activities through the webinars and networking with people. And at the time, we also continued with our entrepreneurship with the teams. They joined a training camp. There was a specialized coaching with a number of counselors from different fields like ICT and business administration and marketing and others. The boot camp also had virtual online training sessions, which was through the DigiPal. It happened through this platform. The boot camp, 46 teams joined, and they were able to develop the business plan. And again, they continued to prepare and present their ideas. And from here, we moved to the other phase, which is the digital inclusion. We had an activity which is DigiEduHack 2020, which was in partnership with a number of institutions like Technobar and Yumina, which works in the digital field. And then moving to the next phase, which is the soft launching, which is the sample or soft launching of the project. We identified the main hypotheses and the students' enrollment. They started taking the courses, and we had focus group discussions to take the feedback, and we had contents validation and testing by the assigned committee, and of course webinars and events were also ongoing. Moving with the entrepreneurship program, at this time there was more intensive training, pitching skills and demo ideas. Mentors continued their guidance with them. It was more one-on-one sessions for each team to enable them to the pitching sessions. Yeah. And then we launched the project, which was the deployment phase and platform development. We continued to working on the content, the training content, and adaptation of the platform, and of course with the webinars and networking events. And of course, we don't forget the role of the digital center support that worked on different levels, like, of course, as Ali said, we selected 8 partner institutions that are basic and important in our project. I'll just mention them quickly. And they were very important to make it successful, like Gaza,
جمعية المستقبل للثقافة والتنمية، جامعة القدس المفتوحة بالضفة والكلية العصرية. The number of institutions that helped them with their role. These partner institutions were a basic part of the success of this project, and to enable the ecosystem, we had to support them in terms of capacity building and training, and the digital literacy training and cybersecurity training, and digital content trainings. These trainings were provided to the staff of these institutions to enable them to also train their colleagues and the beneficiaries. The second part was the providing digital tools and rehabilitation of these institutions. The main goal here was to be able to facilitate and enable the target groups, especially women and people with disabilities, to have access to these tools and trainings. So now there is a support providing laptops and devices and printers and things like that. We also focused on creating an environment that is enabling of the target group of people with disabilities and women through the rehabilitation centers that were created. Many facilities were created among these institutions to enable these categories to use the center and make use of the activities of the center, especially in the marginalized regions. And as for the entrepreneurship program, this project, the teams were able to present their ideas to the group of experts
and their process, the process evaluation, and it took the time needed by the counselors, by the technical committee as well. So we have 4 entrepreneurship teams with very high potential to succeed, and the capacity to apply their ideas and study them in the market. The first was Creativity from Gaza, which is a startup for marketing. They provide different marketing services and to manage online shops and the graphic designs. They want to create a call center, which was our main focus in our project, to develop this service through which they target the university students. They train them in marketing and provide them with job opportunities to apply the skills they learn in their practical lives through creativity. Second one is Pick Fresh. It's a project from the West Bank. This is an agricultural project. It takes care of the Palestinian products, vegetables, and fruit. They created an online market through which they made it easier to access these products. It was a very important platform in the market. The third and the fourth, Mover and the Super Memory. They both talked to us today about their projects. It's important to say that these teams worked with us for 3 weeks, but this time it was more specialized because every team has a specific type of counseling and training. Some of them were focused on business administration, financial management, and product development. At the same time, the second type was more interested in ICT. So we needed to provide them with this kind of support to make it easier to apply their idea digitally. And the third and final one was we provided, for example, an agricultural training to Pick Fresh. We also provided educational training to the Super Memory. So each with specific type of training. In general, this was the counseling and guidance and the financial support that was provided to them on stages to help them at the end to have a prototype, as you saw in Muhammad's presentation. Thank you, Shuk. From here, we went with these teams, and from here, we are thinking of a project that is built on cooperation, not just a project of workshops. Many people today said that the digital sector is built on the cooperation of all sectors and related stakeholders. So the startup and the electronic platform, all of our activity, they do not end at a certain point, but they actually are ongoing and they will have a good future. And lastly, platform development. We have 15 focus groups, group discussions. We launched Digipal, and today we are celebrating its launch.
We have 21 contents available and 9 under digitization. These are varied contents from finance to Excel to life skills or soft skills. And the translation course, we also have digital courses, and one course we worked on, which we digitalized, was the Innovation and Entrepreneurship course, which was developed with Ma'am. So this course will be a pillar for entrepreneurs in Palestine in the future. And we have 300 certificates to the young people who took the course. 15 of them were international ones under MEC training. They were, a number of experts were trained in Palestinian universities like Najah University and Al-Azhar University and Islamic University, the Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Higher Education, and other universities. We also have another group that is taking this training to reach 30 persons getting this certificate, which will, of course, enable us to have better digital transformation in Palestine. We also had over 22 webinars and online events participating in these online, and we have entrepreneurship. The first important are the most important numbers or figures. One major boot camp that was had extensive coaching, and one hackathon in partnership with Renown Acted and the British Council, through which we had 7 solutions to overcome the challenges regarding education. We also have over 150 entrepreneurs who got the training in general and capacity building from the project and technical skills. There was also 300 hours of monitoring and coaching. A lot of them were through Digipal. 7 startups received financial assistance, and 30 new job opportunities were created to Palestinians through this project. Regarding the partnering institutions and their important role, we are very happy to work with them. We provided 2 solar systems, especially in Gaza, which was a solution to the electricity problem. We also provided 3 screens and 29 laptops, 8 desktops, 1 Braille printer, and 2 entrances for power PWDs. And we made it easier and 2 entrances of 2 institutions to make it easier to disabled people to access them. And we provided other digital equipments. Also, in response to COVID-19, we were able to provide hygiene kits to the institutions and beneficiaries and institutions to use them.
facing COVID. Thank you, Shuk. And now we're looking at the end of the project and the methodology of implementing it as partners and stakeholders, universities and private sector, and even entrepreneurs to find DigiPal. It's not exclusive to anyone. It will be available to everyone in Palestine, especially the Palestinian young people. We look at it to serve the Palestinian young people, like providing the interactive content, training contents and activities and other services that will be made available in future phases. Currently, the staff are working on the sustainability of the project, which will be discussed with the partners to ensure the sustainability of the platform. Thank you very much. I hope that everyone follows us on Facebook. Also, DigiPal has been launched, www.digipal.ps. The link is working. I'm waiting for you on the platform. If you have any inquiries, you can communicate with us through the platform or our Facebook page or our 8 centers that were supported and operated in the target areas. And the last word, I thank everyone who made it successful from the advisory board and the committees. Thank you. Have a good one. Shok, would you like to add something? Thank you to everyone, to all partners and stakeholders who played a major role in making it successful. I am very happy that I'm part of this project. I'm also happy that we have a lot of success stories in all phases of the project, start to end. Great job, everyone. I am happy that we have this project now. Thank you. Thank you, Ali. Thank you. We also remind you that the project targets the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Thank you to everyone participating in this forum, and I hope the day you had a good one. Gadir, thank you. Muhammad, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you to the implementers of the project today, Simon, Thibault, and I hope I haven't forgotten anyone of the partners and colleagues who made an army of experts in the past period. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.